You are in the middle of making dinner, and you hear the tiny shuffle of socks on the floor behind you. You turn around, and there they are, again, following you into the kitchen, into the bathroom, into whatever corner of the house you tried to sneak away to for even 30 seconds of breathing room. And part of you smiles, because it is adorable. And another part of you is quietly going a little bit crazy. But here is what nobody tells you in those parenting books or those pediatrician appointments. What your baby is doing when they follow you everywhere is not what you think it is. It is not clinginess in the way we normally use that word. It is not insecurity, and it is not a phase you simply have to white-knuckle your way through. There is actual neuroscience happening in those moments. Real developmental machinery running underneath what looks like a small person obsessing over your location. And once you understand what that machinery is doing, the following changes. Not necessarily in how often it happens, but in how you feel about it and how you respond to it. And that shift matters more than most parents realize. So let us get into it, starting with the one thing that reframes everything else. Your baby is not actually following you. They are using you. And I know that sounds a little cold, but stay with me, because it is one of the most beautiful things developmental science has ever uncovered. Back in 1969, a British psychiatrist named John Bowlby introduced a concept that would go on to reshape how we understand early childhood completely. He called it the secure base. The idea was this: a baby who feels genuinely safe and connected to their caregiver does not spend all of their time pressed against that caregiver. Instead, they use the caregiver as a launch point. They crawl away, they explore something new, they look back to make sure you are still there, and then they go a little further. The caregiver is the home base they return to when things get overwhelming and the anchor they check in with before venturing out again. So when your baby follows you from room to room, they are not refusing to be independent. They are maintaining the exact conditions that make independence possible in the first place. The orbit around you is the thing that allows them to eventually move away from you. Mary Ainsworth built on Bowlby's work through a series of experiments in the 1970s, and what she found was striking. The healthiest babies, the ones with the most confident and positive developmental outcomes, were not the ones who clung the most tightly. They were the ones who explored most freely, checked back most naturally, and returned most easily when something startled or upset them. Exploring and following were two sides of the exact same behavior. You cannot really have one without the other. So, when your baby toddles after you for the 400th time today, what they are actually doing is building the internal architecture of independence. Every time you are there when they look back, you are laying another brick in the foundation they will eventually stand on without you. Now, here's the second piece. And this one genuinely surprised me when I learned it. Your baby is not just following your body around. They are studying your face. There's a behavior in developmental psychology called social referencing, and it is one of the most important things your baby does in the first few years of life. Here's how it works. Your baby crawls towards something they have never seen before, maybe a new object, a new person, a new space. And before they engage with it, they look at you, not briefly, but meaningfully. They are reading your emotional response as information about what this new thing actually is. If your face is relaxed and open, they proceed. If your face tightens with concern, they pull back. Your expression is functioning as their guide to a world they do not yet have the experience to interpret on their own. There is a classic experiment from the 1960s called the visual cliff study. Researchers placed babies on a transparent surface that created the visual illusion of a significant drop. When the mothers on the other side showed expressions of fear, almost no babies crossed. When mothers showed warmth and encouragement, the majority of babies crossed without hesitation. The babies were not responding to the actual danger of the surface. They were responding entirely to what they read on their mother's face. Your baby follows you because being close to you means being close to their interpreter of reality. Every time they enter a new room with you, they have brought their emotional compass along. And this means something worth sitting with. The face you are carrying through your day, when you are tired, when you are stressed, when something completely unrelated to your baby is weighing on you, is being read constantly and being used as data. Not to make you perform emotions you do not feel, but to understand that your presence is always communicating something, and to be as intentional about that as you can be. I've linked a resource in the description below that I think you will find really helpful. Third thing, your baby is not just watching you. They're running a full internal rehearsal of everything you do. In the 1990s, researchers studying primates stumbled onto something that changed our entire understanding of how learning works. They discovered neurons that fire not only when you perform an action, but when you simply watch someone else perform that same action. Mirror neurons. And in human infants, the mirror neuron system is one of the most active developmental systems in the entire first 3 years of life. When your baby follows you around the house and watches you load dishes, fold laundry, open cabinets, or wash your hands, their brain is firing as though they are doing those things themselves. They are internally rehearsing your movements, building the motor sequences, understanding how objects behave, and mapping how people move through physical space. This is how the vast majority of early skills are actually acquired. Not through formal teaching, but through proximity and observation. A researcher named Andrew Meltzoff found that babies as young as 14 months would imitate actions they had watched up to a week earlier, meaning they were not just mimicking in real time. They were storing the footage and retrieving it later. Your baby following you into the kitchen is a learning experience. The room is a classroom, and you are the entire curriculum. Here is one that genuinely catches most parents off guard. A big part of why your baby follows you has nothing to do with sight at all. It is smell. Human newborns can identify their mother's scent within days of birth, not weeks, days. Studies have shown that infants orient toward a familiar maternal scent over an unfamiliar one almost immediately after birth, because the olfactory system, the sense of smell, is one of the most developed systems a baby arrives with. And as your baby grows and begins physically following you, scent remains a constant undercurrent of that behavior. Your smell tells their nervous system that the safe person is nearby. It is part of what makes your presence regulating to them on a biological level. Research has found that babies given a worn piece of their parents' clothing show measurably lower cortisol levels than babies without that olfactory anchor when separated. Your physical presence is the strongest version of this signal, but your scent carries a version of it even just across the room. When your baby follows you, they are following all of you. Your movement, your sounds, your voice, and the olfactory thread that connects them to safety even when you have briefly stepped away. Now for the one that changes how you see the clingy days. Following behavior is not random. It fluctuates, and that fluctuation is actually measuring something real. Some days your baby wanders pretty freely and plays independently. Other days they are practically velcroed to your leg and will not let you out of their sight for a single minute. Most parents assume this is about mood or randomness. Developmental researchers found something much more specific. The intensity of following behavior reflects your baby's current felt level of security. When they feel safe and confident in your reliability, they venture further. When something has shifted, an illness, a disrupted routine, an unfamiliar environment, or a period of rapid brain development, they pull in closer. The orbit tightens. Researchers who studied toddlers over long periods found that the clingiest, most intensely following phases corresponded with developmental leaps, periods when the brain is growing fast and working under significantly higher cognitive load than usual. During those windows, your baby needs more external regulation because their internal resources are maxed out managing growth. The baby who follows you relentlessly during one of those phases is not going backward. They are managing an accelerated brain by leaning on the one thing that helps them stay regulated: you. Understanding this reframes the clingy days entirely. They are not setbacks, they are information. Your baby is telling you what they need right now, and responding with presence rather than frustration, with availability rather than distance, is the thing that lets the developmental leap complete and the independence return naturally. And finally, let us talk about what happens in your baby's brain when they try to follow and cannot. When you leave a room and they cannot come with you, when the gate goes up or the door closes, because this is where the developmental stakes are most visible, when following behavior is interrupted and proximity cannot be regained. The stress response system activates. Cortisol rises, heart rate goes up, the nervous system shifts from the calm exploratory state that supports learning and play into a high alert state focused on one thing only: finding you. This is not a behavior problem. It is evolution doing exactly what it is supposed to do. The same mechanism that kept human infants physically close to their caregivers for hundreds of thousands of years, and therefore kept them safe, is running in your baby right now. The distress of separation is biologically appropriate. Here is what the research shows about what happens next. When separation, distress is met with a responsive return. When you come back, reconnect, and help your baby settle again, the cortisol spike resolves quickly. The nervous system learns what it is trying to learn. That separation is temporary, that you always return, that distress ends, that the world is trustworthy. When separation distress is consistently ignored or met with frustration, the cortisol stays elevated longer, and over time, repeated unresolved distress shapes the stress response system in ways that echo forward into anxiety, difficulty with transitions, and the kind of following behavior that never quite relaxes because it never quite learned it was safe to. Every time you leave and come back and reconnect warmly, you are teaching your baby's nervous system something profound: that you return, that they can trust that the world is reliable, and that trust, built across hundreds of small, ordinary moments, is the actual foundation of the independence that eventually replaces the following. Not because they stop needing you, but because they have learned so deeply and so thoroughly that you are there, that they no longer need to follow you quite so urgently to know it. The following is not a problem. It is a process. Let them follow, be worth following. The independence always comes. I've linked a resource in the description that I think you'll find really helpful.